All right, breaking inputs coming in. Supreme Court has passed its order as far as Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at Eidgah Maidan is concerned. So the conclusion is that there will be no Ganesh festival at the Eidgah Maidan. Supreme Court has ordered status quo. This is a big setback for the Karnataka government and the municipal corporation. The top court has ordered status quo as of today, and it has disposed of the special leave petition. This is the big update that we are getting on this story. Supreme Court order on Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at Eidgah Maidan. The top court has ordered status quo. All right, so this is the latest. Remember, a three-judge bench was hearing this petition of the municipal corporation and the Karnataka government. This is the case that we are talking about, and the top court has ordered status quo, which essentially means that no Ganesh festival will be held at the Eidgah. So Meenakshi joins us for more on this. Meenakshi, please take us through the Supreme Court order.
Well, yes, you see, Archana, very quickly, little background for our viewers. Why the Supreme Court hearing is happening is because earlier a division bench of the Supreme Court comprising Honorable Justices Hemant Gupta and Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, they deferred on this particular petition against the proposed Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at the Eidgah Maidan in Bengaluru's Champarajit, and therefore the matter was then referred to Honorable Chief Justice of India for assigning it to a three-judge bench composition. The three-judge bench composition included Honorable Justice Indira Banerjee in the bench, and just moments back, like you rightly mentioned, the Supreme Court bench led by Honorable Justice Indira Banerjee has ordered for maintaining of status quo as of today by both sides in the Eidgah Maidan. So that's the big news we are getting for our viewers at this point in time. No Ganesh Puja in the Bengaluru Idgah Maidan, as the Supreme Court has ordered today status quo to be maintained in an eventful late evening hearing that has just concluded moments back. Archana.
All right, Meenakshi, could you take us through the kind of arguments that were made in the court from both sides? Because this is a very big order, all eyes were on it, and this could also set a precedent for the coming times.
Well, yes, this is a case which is charged, and very quickly some background for our viewers, Archana. The order under challenge was passed on the 27th of August by a division bench of Acting Chief Justice of the High Court, Alok Aradhe and Justice Sabanur Shetty, in the state's appeal against an interim order which was earlier passed by a single judge bench. And therefore, the matter reached the Supreme Court. And today we have seen some surcharge arguments today where the matter was taken up at around 4:50 p.m. in the evening, where Senior Counsel Mr. Kapil Sibal for the appellant said that it is admitted position that no religious function has been performed by any other community in the Eidgah for the last 200 years. That was the primary argument which was led by Mr. Kapil Sibal before the three-judge bench composition. However, we have also seen rebuttals coming in from former Attorney General Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, who was appearing for the BBMP today before the three-judge bench composition. He went ahead and said that corporation is not the owner, it is the state government which really has ownership over this Eidgah land. And Mukul Rohatgi further said, and I quote, "You cannot claim ownership till it is a Waqf property. The state of Karnataka is a party to the suit, and therefore the Waqf notification was never challenged at any state. And there is a question of ownership over a Waqf land when there is a declaration that it is an Waqf." That was earlier what Mr. Sibal had argued, but Mukul Rohatgi was there at hand to rebut these arguments put forth by Mr. Kapil Sibal. And very importantly, Archana, we underline for our viewers that a division bench of the Supreme Court has already disagreed or deferred, which is why a three-judge bench composition was absolutely necessary in this case. The Honorable Chief Justice of India set up a three-judge bench composition within a span of 10 minutes, And this is a bench led by Honorable Justice Indra Banerjee. Why was a three-judge bench necessary, Archana? Because both the judges of the division bench had conflicting points of view, and therefore the presence of a third justice of the Supreme Court was needed to break this logjam. The third justice was Justice Indra Banerjee, who was leading this bench, and subsequent to hearing same arguments put forth by Mr. Sibal and Mr. Mukul Rohtagi, the Supreme Court has gone ahead and ordered for maintenance of status quo as of today by both sides in the Eidgah Maidan. So no Ganesh Chaturthi as of today at the Eidgah Maidan in Bengaluru.
Absolutely, and going by the arguments that happened, in addition to what you mentioned, the Supreme Court there even asked the Waqf board that it's only for one particular festival. What is your apprehension regarding to which the Waqf board said that no other religious festival should be allowed except what we are allowed to do. So this is essentially the essence of it, where no other festival should be allowed except for what the Waqf board already does on festivities. So the big update that we are getting, Meenakshi, is that the status quo will be maintained and no Ganesh Chaturthi will be held at Eidgah Maidan.
Well, yes, absolutely, Archana, that's the breaking update. And remember, the logjam of the conflicting opinions of two justices of the Supreme Court was required to be broken by the presence of a third justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Indra Banerjee, who we are referring to here. She is the third person in this two-judge bench composition who was set up at the behest of both justices having differing opinions in this matter originally. And Justice Banerjee led bench of the Supreme Court has just passed this order moments back that status quo has to be maintained by both sides in the Eidgah Maidan. Essentially, Archana, what was at stake here was how councils like Mr. Kapil Sibal and also others, they cited the Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb, and they went on to cite as to how this was a land where no such celebration has taken place in the past several hundred years as a precedent, they cited. And there were other arguments also that were advanced by both sides. It was, however, the contention of earlier the solicitor before the two-judge bench composition, and then later Mr. Mukul Rohtagi before the three-judge bench composition, who went ahead and said that any side, the Waqf property does not per se belong to anybody, and therefore it is the state government which actually is the rightful so-called owner of any such property that really does not technically belong to anyone. But be that as it may, as of now, the three-judge bench composition of the Indian Supreme Court has ordered for the maintenance of status quo, which means on this piece of land, as per the earlier High Court orders, the celebration of Ganesh Chaturthi will not happen as of now, Archana.
All right, we'll have to wait and watch how the reactions pour in, because on 31st, Ganesh Chaturthi is going to be celebrated across the country, and the verdict coming right ahead of the festival. Meenakshi, this was also, the important bit about this order was also in relation to what the Karnataka High Court had ordered, which had ordered that Ganesh Chaturthi be allowed at this Eidgah Maidan. And a lot of sentiments are attached to the festival. And of course, the other side as well, that wants its place to be respected. How was the jury divided on this, the three-judge bench, or were they unanimous in their order? What can you tell us about the judges and the order? Was it a unanimous judgment, or was there disagreement on this?
Well, yes, Archana, you see, there was disagreement. There was sharply conflicting opinion between the two judges. That is the reason third judge had to be brought in to break the logjam that existed between the earlier two judges who heard this matter at great length. And therefore, Justice Banerjee-led bench was constituted by the Honorable Chief Justice of India, and she has gone ahead and made the observation, and I quote, "Save us some apologies from Lord Ganesha, this is in lighter vein, unquote, she went ahead and she said, she went ahead and also said as to how status quo should be maintained for the few days. She said, you can hold Ganesh Puja elsewhere, go back to the High Court, unquote. So why this is happening is, like you rightly mentioned, Archana, there was a differing position between the earlier two judges. One was inclined towards allowing the Ganesh Puja to happen, while the other judge of the division bench composition was against the holding of Ganesh Puja. And therefore, when two judges, because you see, the normal composition of the Supreme Court is a division bench composition, which is two judges composition. But when two judges have sharply divergent points of view on any contentious issue, then a third judge has to be brought in to break the logjam. And in this case, it is Justice Indra Banerjee, who also now has spoken her mind, and she wants for the status quo.
Meenakshi, please stay on with us. My apologies to interrupt you. I'm joined by BJP's Ganesh Karnik on the broadcast. Mr. Karnik, thank you for making time and speaking to Mirror Now. The Supreme Court has ordered a status quo as far as Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at Eidgah Maidan are concerned. How do you view this development?
Thanks for inviting me on this discussion. And I've only heard what you have been talking about, the Supreme Court order. As a responsible political party, we respectfully accept the decision of the Supreme Court with regard to holding a Ganesha festival in that disputed area. I won't call it as a Eidgah Maidan. It's a Chamrajpet public Maidan where people wanted to celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi. See, there are disputing kind of orders. Initially, they said it is a property belonging to the government and government has to take a call on this. And today, the Supreme Court says you have to maintain status quo. So we welcome the order in the sense we respectfully accept the order. Let's see how government reacts. I have not seen the order myself. Neither the government would have seen it by now. So they will take a call on this.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Karnik.
This year, we may not have been able to perform our this thing. But in due course of time, we will have the Ganesha festival celebrated in that public ground.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Ganesh Karnik, for speaking to Mirror Now and sharing your perspective on this development. The Supreme Court has refused Ganesh Chaturthi at Eidgah Maidan and has ordered status quo. This is the big update that we are breaking on Mirror Now. All right, I'm joined by Congress's Nasir Hussain on the broadcast. Mr. Hussain, thank you for making time and speaking to Mirror Now. What is your first reaction to this development? The Supreme Court has ordered status quo, which essentially means that no Ganesh Chaturthi festivities will take place at Eidgah Maidan.
I think this is a welcome judgment on the part of Supreme Court of maintaining status quo, so that there's nothing urgency of having some sort of an event in that Eidgah Maidan when nothing of that sort was organized for the past 200 years. So I think in that light, there's a wise judgment from Supreme Court. So let these 2-3 days go. You can again go back to the High Court or to the Supreme Court, and again you can claim your you can argue there, you can claim, you can show your documents, you can go back to the 1964 Supreme Court judgment, you can you can discuss and debate whatever you want, you can do, but not anything before the final judgment is given. I, being the member of Karnataka Waqf Board, I have followed this case very closely. See, stage one is 1964-65. Supreme Court has given a judgment that this land belongs to the Eidgah Committee and is a Waqf property. And thereafter, it had to be registered. I don't know for what reasons the committee and the other people did not follow it up, and it was not registered. And then, in lieu of this land, it was something about 12 acres or 14 acres of land. About 8 acres of land has been given by BBMP in another part of the city near Vijayanagar. So if this land did not belong to the Waqf board or to the Eidgah committee, why did the BBMP give another 8 to 10 acres of land in some other part of the city? Then the remaining part, I mean, that was the encroached part. The remaining part where the namaz is conducted twice, thrice in a year, whatever it is, and then the other religious activities take place there, is something which has been happening for times immemorial. They say 200 years, somebody says 300 years, and it is under the position of the Waqf board. And the law of our country clearly says that once a Waqf is always a Waqf. Anybody who donates the land to the Waqf board, whether it can be an individual, it can be an institution, it can be the government or anybody, once it is a Waqf, it is forever, it is a Waqf. So that is a well-established law passed by the Parliament of our country. Some organizations which are actually not very registered groups or political parties, but backed by, I think, the government of Karnataka and BJP in Karnataka, wanted to create this ruckus and controversy just because elections are round the corner. It is not only in Bengaluru. They also did the same thing in Hubli Idgah Maidan. They are doing the same thing. What happened with hijab? What happened with halal? What happened with Hazan? And whatever 62 to 63 communal rights that took place in last 3 years. Now you take up any issue in every 15 days, every 8 days, there is some issue or the other pertaining to the minority community with the sole intention of creating a division, polarizing, and then garnering the votes in their favor. Because this government has failed, this government has not taken up. There are all kinds of allegations against the government by their own people. 40% commission sarkar, it is called. Their own karyakarta committed suicide by naming one of the senior ministers who had to resign, Mr. Ishwarappa. And then the Swamis and the Sikhs come out and say that 25% is being asked in the grants given to the religious matas in the state. And now the 15,000 schools come out and say that there is huge corruption in the education department. So now it is rigged with corruptions, murders, law and order problem, communal rights. So now they want to see that the only way to win elections in Karnataka in the next 6-7 months, whenever the elections are conducted, the only way is to polarize and divide the country. That is the reason why they are raking up these issues, which are non-issues, and these issues are not existed before in Karnataka.
Nasir Hussain for speaking to Mirror Now and sharing your first reaction on this development. So that's a big update that we are getting from the Supreme Court. The top court has asked all parties to maintain status quo, which essentially means that no Ganesh Chaturthi festivities will take place at Bengaluru Idgah Maidan. On that note, we will slip into a short break. When we return, we'll get you the top updates. GDP numbers are coming tomorrow. We'll get you the latest on that.